I'm going to center it again. Just find myself a center mark. You don't have to lay these out, but if you wish and want to put pencil lines there, you can, but after a while, you'll just find that it's just as easy to follow through, pick the locations, and finish off the project. Now I'm going to come back again about an inch from that end. Back through here. And one more to there. So a bead of glue, just running all the way nice and down the outside here, right down along that bottom piece. Good. Just flare that out a little bit with your finger, wipe off the excess, and now come back into place and set it up like so. And remember, I'm working off the front side here, so I want to make sure that this is always the clean edge. If there's a little bit of difference back here, no problem, because it can be sanded down. And once again, use my right angle clamp. Just drop that into place like so. Lock it in. Come around to the other side. Drop it in again. Make sure it's nice and tight. And that's it. That's going to hold it in place. Put a screw in the center. And follow through with a few more. And what we'll do is we'll lock them in position here by putting these pocket screws into the holes. Work on the 3 holes in the center here. Remove the clamp. And again, just keep an eye on this, and it's still nice and tight, so that's great. And come around to the other side. Take the clamp off. The process is repeated there. Perfect. Great. As I said, this is going to be our spacer, so, yep, it's going to be tight, but guess what? It is going to fit perfectly once we get it out of here. There it is. So this now will slide up, and we'll put a series of pocket holes on the top here. But let's finish off this side first. We'll take this, the 2 tops, and I want to show you another machine that the Kreg Jig Company has brought out with, and this is the Foreman. Now this is great if you've got a small production company or you've got a big production company, because you can actually do the same thing with all the pocket holes, except do it at a quicker rate and a better speed. With this now, what I'm going to do is, this is my good side, so I make sure I flip it over, and I can actually use this whole unit as a jig, because I've got the outsides, I've got the inside markings, and I also have these side supports, and I'll show you how that works. Let me show you what the inside looks like. Basically, it's the drill, and it's inside here, pneumatic drill. And what happens is, it's applied by air pressure. When I pull on the handle, presses the board down, and the drill comes up and makes that pocket hole exactly the same way as we do with the K2000. The difference with this is, it allows me to go a little quicker and get a little faster with the project as well. Put the lid on, set it in place. Remember, good side down. Pick the center point. Move it over to one side, use that edge as a jig. Move it over to the other side, use that edge as a jig. And now I come over and I can figure out a spot right about there. Again, same thing. I want to come in about an inch. And guess what? That sure makes for a quick pocket hole to go in there. The next step is to do the top portions. And this again, I'm going to look at picking the center part, moving it over to the edge, moving it over to the edge, lock it in place like so, and what it does is it makes it easier for me to be repetitive in the same bits and pieces that I'm doing. Come on to this side. There's my 5 holes. Repeat the processes again on the other side. Position it in the center. One to the end. Coming out to the stop. Bringing it back through. Flat on the end. And to the stop again. So the Kreg Foreman is actually a really good tool if you've got a lot of production to do or you're drilling a lot of pocket holes. So it's something you might want to think of investing into. What's what's important here is not to install this top first, because what I want to do is I want to attach this full extension slider to the top and to the bottom of this box and also to the cabinet itself. So prior to putting this on, this piece here, we're going to install the slider. Now let me show you what I mean. First thing I want to do is I want to take out the section that attaches onto the drawer. And by pulling this out, you'll see that there's a little lever here. By pressing that down and continue pulling it through, it ends up taking this out, and this will go on the drawer itself, where this portion will be attached to the box. This is the front end, so we switch it around like so, set it in place, and because of that 4-inch cavity, if I use a 1 3/8 inch spacer, it gives me a nice distance there. It lines it dead in the center, and by using a 3/4 inch piece of birch ply at the front here, it also lines up exactly where I'm going to go with that face of the drawer when I put it on. Now I'm taking a drill bit here. Now that drill bit is a centering point bit. And what it does is it'll go into the hole, and once it's set into that hole, it will actually give me the pinpoint of where I want to go with the screw itself. I reverse it, and with a number 5/8 inch screw, I lock that in place. Move this down to the end. Again, it doesn't matter at the end now where I put that spacer, because I don't need an end spacer, because this is going to be the back side of our cabinet. Bring this down again, set it in place like this, and push down. Flip it over. Set the screw on. And that's the center mark of that whole drawer slide all the way down. So what I do is just I finish off and repeat the process in additional holes. Now that I've installed the sliders in the bottom of the bit storage drawers, it's time to install them on the top. Now remember, this is the top portion of that cabinet, and the reason I didn't want to put that in first is because it's going to be a lot easier to install these sliders first. Let me show you how. Same process. Because I know, for example, on the left side, I'm going to go this way. So on the bottom, I've put the left, and I've put the S for the spacer. Because I worked off the spacer on the left-hand side of the bottom, I also want to work off the left-hand side at the top. Now there's why it's important to add these two in while you've got the tops off, so that you don't have to reach up underneath. Now, the next step here is I'm going to put these in place, but guess what? I'm not going to glue these in, because I want to be able to have access to this should the sliders ever break down or the bearings ever break. And this allows me to take the top off, and also allows me to take the pocket hole screws out, work on it, put it back in place, and put it back together. By using my angle clamp here, my right angle clamp, line it up like so, squeeze it in place, come down to the other end, set it in place like so, line it up, and again, just make sure it's flush to the top. Better shy than proud. This side come down just a little bit, which is fine. Perfect. Exactly the way I want it. Now, same process, start off in the middle. Off to the edge here. Without using glue, these are stronger. It's a simpler way to do this, and it's a faster way to do this as well, because I don't have to wait for any glue up time, and I don't have to wait for any clamping time either. Now, I'm going to take a longer clamp and set this down the side here, because it's just a little out of alignment, and I want to straighten that out. So I'm straightening it out like this, putting it in, lines up the fronts, taking my right angle clamp, come to the back first, follow it down and through, clamp it in, taking this one, setting it in the hole, and just bring that up a touch. Perfect. And I repeat the same process on the other side. There, that's how easy it is to build this cabinet with the help of the K2000 pocket hole jig and a little bit of help from the foreman. Next, I'm going to put some dividers in here, and we're going to start building our dust collection area where we're going to keep everything nice and tight and show you how to build that box.
Kreg Tool also offers many accessories, including face clamps, right-angle clamps, coarse and fine-threaded self-tapping screws, and much more. The versatility of pocket hole joinery gives it the power to benefit any level of woodworker. For the dealer nearest you, call 800-447-8638 or visit www.kregtool.com today.
The next step is to reduce that cavity size because of where the router plate is located. So this now will sit back in place and make that box a lot smaller. Remember, we've got 21¼ inches here that we want to bring down in size because the smaller that box is, the better the draw in taking the chips out. Now this one here itself, the router plate is really mounted closer to the front than normal. And with this one here, if you look at this is a style that usually has about the average setup for a router table. It's just a bit further back from the front. But we don't have a spacer in here. What we've done is I've shrunk the box down so it gives me a smaller size as well. Back to here, what I want to do is put this in place, drill a 2-inch hole in the back here so I can put my dust collection port through here, which is going to take away the debris coming from the top that's going to run off the blade or the bit itself. If you look inside, you'll see that hole, and that's the hole that we have to create in the back here to match up to do the draw. Now what I want to do here is I want to find that location for that hole. And I found that if you come down 10½ inches and divide that 14-inch width in half, you'll get 7 inches. And that'll be your mark where you're going to put your drill bit through. Sacrificial board underneath. And what I want to do is drill that 2-inch hole to accept this plastic portion of the 2-inch dust collection system. Line it up. There's our hole. The advantage of that board, it's a backing board so we don't get the tear out in here. This isn't the part you're going to see anyways because this will be in the back of the area, and the front cavity portion here, this will set in place. Now, it's not bad here, and it's going to be sufficient. If you find that this is a little too tight, you may want to take it to a spindle sander and just clean that out on the spindle sander until this fits flush into that piece as well. With this, remember, we have a backing board going on here, the back of the cabinet, so that is why the longer extension here, so it'll accommodate this port outlet here to attach into. The next thing I want to do is I want to put pocket holes in on the back side of this now because this is how I'm going to attach it. So again, by setting it in place and just offsetting that hole, I'm going to put 4 holes across the bottom. Now to the sides. And again, you don't need a lot here. All this is going to do is just help support it and keep it in that position where it is. Now's the time to install this divider. Now, with all these pocket holes in here, I'm not going to add any glue to this because what I'm going to do is set this in, dry fit this in first. And I've measured back 16 inches from the front for this specific router table itself and slide this down. Now, keeping it nice and tight is going to do the trick for it here. Set it in place like so, line it up to the lines, and by using a square, set it in place along the side and knock it into position. Good there, and good there. You can also see down the top here to make sure that it's lined up right. Now, with an angle screwdriver here, I'm going to take the drill and put a number 8 coarse pocket hole screw in here. It's 1¼ inches long, so it's ample and it won't go through the box as well. Now that's fairly snug. If you've got a bit of cracks and lines showing in there, you could take a little bit of caulking and put the caulking in there as well to make it much more tighter, but this is going to be sufficient. It's not going to require anything because there's no crack space in there at all. And the next step is just to finish putting in the screws. The next step is to cut these 45-degree mitered inserts. Now, what's done here is we take it to the table saw. We